The talk today is called Above 200, and I hope you wonder why. Today, as everybody noticed, is Father's Day, and we certainly need to be grateful to the men who fathered us and protected us as we grew up in our early years, but we forget to be grateful to the Father or the cause of us all, our Father. You know, our Father who art in heaven. When your spiritual eyes begin to open, you start to see things that have always been there, but you've never seen before. For example, June 21st is the beginning of summer, the solstice, when the sun stands still. This year, Father's Day coincides with that, with the summer solstice. The one day of the year that has the longest and the most light. This really isn't a coincidence, because in 2015, the world's spiritual eyes are beginning to open. Humanity is beginning to see the light. They're beginning to see that our Father really is the light of the world, the energy of the world. So it's really appropriate that Father's Day this year occurs on summer solstice, the day of the most light. Now I'm going to do something that's not usually done from the pulpit. Maybe this is off the wall. I'm going to thank you all, each and every one of you sitting in this room. Why? Because each one of you here is helping to save planet Earth and helping it to ascend to the next level. You may ask yourself, well, what's she talking about? What's she mean by that? What have I done? I'm not important. I'm not famous. How am I helping the planet? First, you need to know a little about the man called Sir David Hawkins, MD, PhD. This is a summary of his biography. He's a nationally renowned psychiatrist, physician, researcher, spiritual teacher, and lecturer. Pardon me. The uniqueness of his contribution to humanity comes from the fact that he's enlightened, self-realized. Rarely, if ever, has this spiritual state been attained by an accomplished scientist. So he is uniquely qualified to present to us, modern society, the spiritual path in a compelling way. He's been on Oprah, The Today Show. He was knighted for his vast accomplishments. His internationally known map of consciousness, which will now appear suddenly by magic on the screen, will help you realize why you are so important today. To simplify this, take a look at it and see. It's a map of the scale of consciousness. At the bottom, it starts at 20 with hateful and shame. Shame, interestingly enough, is one of the very lowest vibrations. It goes up to 200, where the line is. Anything below that is false. Anything above that is true. Jesus, Krishna, and all the illumined, and notice when you hear the word illumination and enlightened, it's all to do with more and more light. And as our light grows, we go up this scale of consciousness. 700 to 1,000 is enlightenment, by the way. Unity is at 540, to give you an idea. Now, as your spiritual eyes open, let's now look. Let me go back to this. Anything below 200 is negative and brings the vibration of the planet and you down, and everybody else, since we're one. Anytime your emotions are above 200, from courage up, willingness, love, acceptance, joy, peace. These emotions are high vibration. They lift you up and they lift everyone up because we're one, and they lift the planet up because we are one. Now, as your spiritual eyes open, let's look at the word emotion. I love words myself. This secret has always been obvious to those with eyes to see. There's only one presence, God the good. And this power is everywhere. Therefore, one substance. And it's all good. The kids are right. Oh, it's all good. Science calls the same energy the field. But what is really important is this. What makes this one good energy seem to be two opposing energies, two powers, good and evil? What is responsible for this? We are. Our emotions are responsible for the motion of energy in one of two directions, high or low. Emotions move energy. Remember, E equals mc squared. E represents energy and motion. We move, we vibrate the very energy around us with our emotions. Now, what's really good to know is that I like this. Emotions are like keys on a piano. If you hit the right key and you want to hit a C, you hear a C. In the emotions, the same thing. If you hit the key of shame or hate, the same vibration comes forth into your life. Either as an experience or a sickness, somehow it will manifest. Like attracts like. All frequencies, I mean, have you ever seen anybody break a glass with their singing voice? Because somehow that vibration is the same, and it just actually moves the glass, even though you're not holding it. The lowest negative emotion starts at the bottom, symbolized by 20. Positive emotions don't begin until you reach 200 and go up to 1,000. Now, Dr. Hawkins maintains that if humanity had not finally climbed above 200 on this scale in the 1980s, the planet would have been destroyed. Pardon me. Now, the people in this room are all above 200. Some may even reach 500, which is love. Not the love that bargains, if you love me, I'll love you. But the love that loves because it can't help but do anything but love. Now, all of us dip back down occasionally to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I don't think any of us are strong enough yet to hold that tremendously high vibration forever, always. But on the whole, the power of the people sitting here in this very room is immense. And it's exponential, the power as you go up. And I wish I were a mathematician to explain exponential. I looked it up to try to find a simple way to present it. Well, to me, there's no simple way. I can only tell you it's not doubling, it's not tripling, it's not quadrupling, it's more than that. Every point you gain actually is a quantum leap. So if you go from 350 to 351, you become extremely powerful, far so more than when you were at 350. So each one in this room, because of who you are and what you know, is powerful, a powerful creator. Now, there are not a lot of us here today. Not millions, but each one of you is exerting fantastic power in this world. You may not be famous. You may not be rich. You may not be beautiful. You may not be young. But each of you has a consciousness that is holding the world up. It's holding it in place. And not only that, but lifting it to a higher dimension. So if anyone here feels they have no value or they haven't succeeded in life, think again. Your very being, your existence, by your consciousness alone, you have enormous value. To know, those who know the truth, it's never been about doing or having. It has always been about being. As each one of us becomes consciously aware of our oneness with God and the unity of the cosmos, we begin to see that really love does make the world go round. And that's a very exciting thing. Because if love makes the world go round, we have the power to make it go faster and farther and higher. Now we can begin to understand what Jesus meant when he said, love one another. What great advice it was. Now, Hawkins' map of consciousness shows us how important it is to replace negative emotions with positive ones. Now, I did a talk on tapping recently, so I'll only explain it briefly. It's a very simple process, but it notifies the subconscious to release negative emotions from the body by tapping on meridian points in the body. Now remember, the conscious mind only uses 10% of our brain power. 90% is used by the subconscious. It takes care of things in the background. None of us has to say, okay, lungs breathe, heart beat. Can you imagine food digest? Can you imagine standing there, foot move, forward, back? I mean, nobody ever got anything done. So 90% of us is taking care of things on automatic robot time. So the thing to remember is, part of you is a robot. It's also a recorder. It has recorded every single emotion you've ever had from the time you were conceived, when you were too young to know what to say. Oh, that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's all good. Or as you got older, because you were still, I hate to say it, ignorant enough not to know that your emotions even had power. So now these emotions actually get stuck in the body, and they block energy that should be moving, pumping, moving in your body, fixing things, like repairing organs. So it's a very important thing to get rid of the negative emotions for your body and for the planet and for each other. Because every time, ever been with anybody that was down for an hour after hour? And finally you sink lower and lower and lower until finally you think, oh my God, why don't they leave? She finally did. So I'm going to give you an example. Not the next one, but the one after that. And this is tapping. Yeah, that's it. All right, I remember this myself by thinking we have 5 senses. And there are 5 spots on the face that are the points. Inner eye, outer eye, under eye. So see how important I am. And then under nose, under chin. Then there's one here, and I never quite figured out where it was, so I hit the whole thing with my whole hand. And one right about here, and the top of your head. But you always start out saying, there's a karate chop point, if you can read that writing, I don't know. And they call it the karate chop point for obvious reasons. Ha ha! You know? So this is the karate chop point. Oh, stop. So what you do is you say, even though I feel afraid, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Yeah, do it together, because who said what? Who in the audience had the nerve to interrupt this moment? Oh, oh, he just broke the wood. Congratulations, Dennis. So the thing is, every time you hit here, you say, even though, and then you mention the problem. Maybe you have a sore foot. Even though I have a sore foot, or I'm afraid. And almost all of us are afraid of something. So even though I'm afraid, I have fear in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. You say it 3 times. There must be a magic in 3. Even though I feel afraid that sometimes I'm not good enough, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though sometimes I don't feel worthy, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Inner I. And now it's a reminder phrase. I feel afraid. Sometimes I get scared. Under the I. I don't want to admit it. But at night, when I'm alone in bed sometimes, I'm scared. I think all the things I need to do, all the things I forgot to do, all the things I did. And I wish I hadn't done them. I wish I could undo them. And subconscious, I really would appreciate it if you'd let any emotions go that are holding me back. And then you keep going down until you say, hey, I'm really scared, but I want to let this go. I let this fear go. I let this awful negative emotion leave my body now. And as it leaves my body, it's leaving my life too. Under the arm. I can feel the fear leaving. Doesn't it feel good to get rid of a hunk of fear? Thank you, God. Okay, now what you do is you go home and you don't do the karate thing on the wood at home. Leave your chairs alone. What you do is tap, but you Google it, because, you know, I can tell you a few words. If I had 2 hours, I'd explain why it's so powerful. And it's like an electric switch. You don't have to believe in it to make the light turn on when you hit it. But if you don't do it, you stay in the dark. So tapping is very much like that. Do it and you can be amazed. Oh, I'll tell you one thing that happened to me. I had this terrible pain in my heel. And so I thought, well, I'll tap it away, right? It would scare me to death because I thought I can't play tennis anymore. I certainly won't be able to dance. Heck, I can hardly walk. My whole life in an instant changed with this pain. So I went to the doctor the next day and he said, oh, you have plantar fasciitis. I never did get that straight. You know what it was, something bad. And so I went home and I thought, well, I have plantar or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, into my mind, my conscious mind, came the word hate. Now, honestly, there's some people I don't prefer, but consciously, I don't hate anybody. But that word hate came up. So I tapped on hate. That pain went away from the bottom of my foot instantly and stayed away. It's never come back, thank God. So that's just an example, and it takes sometimes an experience that you personally have, you know, to believe it really works. But every once in a while, in 1 minute, it'll change your life for good.